Solo Leveling, Ragnarok. By Dang Du. Chapter 276. Suho nodded at the captain of the guard's final words. Chairman Wu. No wonder the association was taking so long with North Korea. So this is why. Before Suho had come here himself, he hadn't even considered the possibility. He had assumed Jinchul was solely focused on clearing out magic beasts, but in reality, he had been dealing with villains as well. Jinchul could never have pictured fully formed cities of villains either. Back in South Korea, there were many who resented Wu Jinchul's prolonged absence. That sentiment was no surprise. The man who had essentially built the association was always gone. Moreover, one of the hunters he took to North Korea was the S-rank hunter Choi Jong-in. That was really the biggest problem. Had Jinchul left Jong-in behind, or better yet, made him chairman of the association in his stead, there wouldn't have been as much dissatisfaction. The presence of a walking weapon like an S-rank hunter was that significant. Even the bureaucratic hoops Suho had been forced to jump through to gain permission to come here were a direct result of Jong-in's absence. But from South Korea's perspective, cities like this pose a far greater threat than magic beasts, Suho thought. Beasts' actions are dictated purely by instinct. The existence of a villain metropolis right above South Korea's head was a threat, one even greater than when North Korea was a functional nation before the Great Cataclysm. From Jinchul's perspective, it was only natural to wipe out every villain city he found. And no matter how many villains might be living in the cities, they wouldn't pose much of a challenge to Jinchul. He had Choi Jong-in with him, after all. Suho had been burning down Elvenwoods, and Jong-in was similarly an S-rank fire mage. He could easily turn an entire Elvenwood into an inferno if he wanted to. Thinking about them raised a question in Suho's mind. Why is this city still standing, then? He asked Yongjin. Because Wu Jinchul hasn't found it yet, the captain replied. That's what the executors do, you see. They rebuild the cities in places where Jinchul will not find them. And the walls of this particular city are stronger than any other. Suho nodded in understanding. No matter how powerful Jinchul was, it was impossible for him to monitor every corner of North Korea. The thick blue mist made satellite cameras useless as well. It would not have been difficult for executors to venture into regions that he had already cleared and rebuild the cities there, effectively avoiding detection. As long as the executors were safe, cities like this would continue to form. Geez. What are they, cockroaches? Suho muttered. Quaratia perks up her ears. Go away. I wasn't talking about you. Ignoring Quaratia's presence, Suho thought about what he should do next based on what Yongjin had just shared. Baru, eyes gleaming with malice, offered a suggestion. How about this, young monarch? You may continue burning things down as usual, and I will lead our soldiers outside to track down anyone trying to escape. No. We don't even know who the executors are. We need to consider the possibility that they might not be in the city at all. If nobody knew who they were, he wouldn't get an answer even if he killed and extracted every villain here. So this means I have to force them to come out on their own. He paused and looked back at Yongjin. Hold on a second. What did you say their job was again? Maintaining order in the city? Yes, that's right. There's my answer, Suho said with a mischievous smile. I'll simply give them a reason to step in and maintain order. His grin widened. For a lawless city, this place was remarkably well organized. And he had plenty of ways to shatter that order. Where to start? If one excluded the executors, there were three powers publicly controlling the city: the bank, the Huntsman Guild, and the Free Market Coalition. It was obvious that the easiest target was the coalition, composed loosely of the city's traders and debtors. The coalition seems like a good place to start shaking things up, he declared. Having settled on a course of action, he turned to Sirka with a grin. Sirka, you must be tired. Let's get some rest. Where do we sleep? She asked, tilting her head. Before Suho could answer, Yongjin moved without being called. The shadow soldier pulled a coin pouch from his own corpse's pocket and politely presented it to Suho. It's not much. But it should be enough to pay for a night's lodging. Ah, always so kind, Suho responded, taking the money with a smile. I appreciate the gesture, but I don't need a place to stay. With that, he produced the key to the shadow dungeon. I like to be comfortable when I sleep. Besides, I haven't done today's daily quest. You have entered the shadow dungeon. Suho and Sirka vanished into the shadow gate. Meanwhile, back at the bank, the employee who had been leisurely awaiting news about Suho suddenly stiffened. What? He had just heard the report of what had befallen the captain of the guard. He was found dead? Yes. Every enhanced human with him was killed as well. And the entire alleyway was covered in ice? Yes. There were traces of considerably powerful ice magic everywhere. Whoever used it must be A-rank, at least. A-rank? I thought he was a summoner. The employee laughed incredulously after hearing the report delivered by a choker-wearing debtor. Despite his laugh, his eyes were glowing with more malice than ever. The friendly, welcoming demeanor he had shown Suho earlier had vanished. Then what about the elf? Are you telling me she wasn't a summon, that he actually captured and tamed her? Or was that the result of a completely different skill? Doubts ran rampant in his mind, and possibilities filled his head. It wouldn't be a problem at all if he was a simple A-rank villain. He'd need money to survive here, anyway. Newcomers weren't required to take on debt, but turning them into debtors was a long-standing routine. These ambushes also served as a test, allowing the bank to see where a newcomer could be best used and what skills they possessed. In any case, it really wasn't all that concerning that the captain of the guard had ended up dead despite having enhanced humans with him. There were plenty of people in the Huntsman Guild who could replace them. What truly bothered the bank employee was the gut feeling he had the moment he met the newcomer. From the very beginning, something about the young man seemed off. There was a sense of complete relaxation in his expression and attitude, something that could not be written off as a bluff. It was rare for anyone to act like that in the apocalyptic country of North Korea. The employee's gaze fell to his desk where the signed citizen registration form lay. His name is Baru? TSK. What a silly alias. Makes him sound like a middle schooler. What is this, a video game handle? Kids these days. It was obvious this guy wasn't worth worrying about. Everyone in this city used false names, but if this was the name he chose to use from that point on, he clearly lacked creativity. However, what if even this was a calculated move to make people underestimate him? Why would he do that? What is the possibility that he's one of Jinchel's? The employee asked the debtor. It was the worst possible scenario, but the moment the employee voiced it, the debtor shook his head. Impossible. If he were, he wouldn't have drawn this much attention to himself. I suppose. In any case, I don't like this kid. We'll have to keep an eye on him for the foreseeable future. This? Baru. Where is he staying tonight? Well, nowhere. What? What do you mean, nowhere? The bank employee's icy glare bore into the debtor, who stammered out a panicked reply. I mean nowhere. I don't know where he's gone. It's like he vanished into thin air. His tracks stopped completely in the alleyway where the bodies were found. Find him. He stole the captain of the guard's money. He can't be sleeping on the street. I swear, sir, I've had my men searching everywhere. There's no sign of him. You useless fools. I don't care if it takes all night. Find him. Why yes, sir. The bank employee's furious order sent the debtor scurrying out of the bank as though he was being chased. Throughout the night, men scoured every corner of the city, combing through alleyways and buildings in search of Suho. Their efforts, unfortunately, were for nothing. Suho turned up at the heart of the market the next morning. We found him, sir. He's been spotted at the market. The bank employee cut the man off, seething. You didn't find him. He showed up on his own. If you think this counts as finding him, you can forget about ever repaying your debt. The debtor's face paled at the weight of that sentence. Debt was a terrifying thing. Thankfully, that wasn't the only information he had to share. About this Baru. He started selling something in the market this morning. What? He just suddenly set up shop? The bank employee looked puzzled. The first thing newcomers usually did was sell off the things they had brought from South Korea, but for some reason, he had a bad feeling about this too. Where is he? I need to see this for myself. Right this way, sir. The debtor took the lead, brightening at the thought that his debt might be reduced even a minor amount. After arriving at the market and catching sight of Baru selling his wares, the bank employee was rooted to the spot. What the hell is all that? It was ridiculous. Actually, it made absolutely no sense. The market in this city was massive. Citizens bartered relentlessly, fighting to escape debt or to avoid falling into it in the first place. But where did their wares come from? The goods in this city were always limited to those brought in from South Korea, and even then, it usually took less than half a day for them to sell out. Once supplies ran dry, as they inevitably did, traders had no choice but to risk their lives beyond the city walls, scouring the wasteland for anything they could sell. Where in the hell did he get all of this? The employee couldn't help but be astonished. All around him, people gasped in wonder, happily exclaiming that they hadn't seen such food in ages. There was even a cake with whipped cream for sale. Baru, or rather, Suho, was selling South Korean food in the middle of the market. It was an entire shop's worth of goods, as if he had dragged one department of a fully stocked supermarket straight into the wasteland. Chapter 277. Magic beast meat was atrocious, but it didn't just taste disgusting, it was also toxic. Those desperate enough to eat it would suffer crippling stomach pains, and some lost their stomachs altogether when their insides rotted from the venom. But even among the magic beasts, there were rare edible varieties. Some had weaker venom than others, and the survivors in North Korea used various means to neutralize it in order to eat the meat. That didn't make the meat taste any better, of course, but this was apocalyptic North Korea. It had become a paradise for magic beasts after the Great Cataclysm. Cities crumbled into ruins, and people were left struggling to survive, so complaining about food was a luxury no one could afford. Taste didn't matter so much when one was on the verge of starvation. A few days without food and even the pickiest eater would shove anything down their throat to stay alive, whether it be beast meat or barely edible scraps. This brutal reality was the basis for this city's market. Get it here, folks. Low-venom magic beast meat at a special price. Over here. We've neutralized this magic beast meat. It's pre-ground for your convenience. Fresh fruit picked just this morning. Come and check it out. We'll barter. Hagglers welcome. The free market was as bustling as ever. Anybody could buy and sell here, even without joining the coalition. It resembled a flea market more than anything else. A member of the Huntsman Guild by the name of Kim Kyeol-soo, an alias, had laid out fresh meat from magic beasts he'd hunted. He tutayed, worry filling his features. TSK. Not many customers today. Beside him was another vendor, Kong Kiho, also an alias. You're right. But what can we do? Just gotta sell what we can. Huntsman Guild members usually performed food-fetching jobs from the bank, took their rewards, and sold whatever meat was left over. Sitting on the ground, Kiho busied himself with dicing up meat as he spoke. You should mince it like I do. Makes it easier to chew. It takes a bit more effort, but it's a pretty effective sales strategy. Kyeol-soo sighed. But for how long? It would work for 1 or 2 days, but if it doesn't sell after that, it's all wasted effort. Then you can eat it yourself. No. This all has a bit too much toxin in it. Wait, what? Oh, come on. You're a total fraud. Hee hee. Not that I'm any better. The merchants exchanged sly grins, their eyes gleaming with mischief. In a market rife with deception and manipulation, only the craftiest villains survived. Regardless, the most sought-after food in the market wasn't meat. It was fruit, ordinary fruit, not the fruit of the Elvenwoodor spices that were capable of masking the foul stench of beast meat. Those who specialized in fruits or vegetables with powerful scents were generally referred to as the fruit traders, and they were the richest and most powerful people in the coalition. A prominent fruit trader who went by the alias Mr. Park smiled with satisfaction as he stood in front of his shop. Business is booming, as usual. Nothing beats fruit. The owner of the shop next door, who went by Mr. Choi, nodded with envy. You're right. What you've done here is impressive. I don't know how you keep getting your hands on so much fruit. Mr. Park smirked smugly, turning to look at him. Don't go around asking for trade secrets. Even if I told you, you wouldn't be able to replicate what I do. It's too dangerous. Of course. Mr. Choi smacked his lips, showing no sign of displeasure at Mr. Park's insulting tone. Selling this ordinary fruit was a business reserved only for the strongest. Hunting beasts outside the city was one thing, but combing the wilderness for fruit, never knowing where to look or when a beast would strike, was far more dangerous. There was a reason that the fruit traders were the leadership of the coalition. If a weak individual managed to earn a fortune selling fruit, they wouldn't survive the night in the city. They would be attacked, their wealth and their life stolen in their sleep. It was then that Mr. Park narrowed his eyes and focused on something in the distance. Huh? There's a new face. He spotted a newcomer among the relaxed, bustling activity of the morning market. Many vendors had a keen memory for customers' faces, and Mr. Park was no exception. Mr. Choi followed his gaze, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. I heard someone new arrived last night. Goes by Baru, apparently. Ah, so that's him? It's been a while since we've had a rookie. Doesn't look like he has much to sell, though. Yeah, not much to see there. No matter how vast the city, rumors spread fast. News of the new arrival the night before had already traveled from the city guards to the free market. Even the alias he had used at the bank was common knowledge by now. This was what the coalition was made for. Mr. Choi grinned. But the rumors are right. Look, he's not entirely empty-handed. He's got a real expensive item next to him, right out in the open. Mr. Park smiled, his eyes flashing. Yeah, I see it too. That's a real elf, isn't it? And a live one too. His tongue flicked over his lips as he took in the sight of the pointy-eared creature walking calmly beside Baru. He claimed to be a summoner at first, but judging from the ruckus in the night, that's obviously a lie. That elf is no summon either, Mr. Choi said. He's damn lucky. Where the hell did he find a fresh elf? She's not even fully grown. The first one to find her would have been able to snatch her right up. Only moments ago, Mr. Choi had been the one with greed written all over his face. Now that expression had shifted to Mr. Park as well. Fruits, as expensive as they were, could not compare to elves. Elves were Alfheimer's favorite fertilizer. 1,000 days of selling fruit would never compare to the profit of capturing just one elf and selling it to the bank. Everyone in the market knew this already. Mr. Park glanced around him to see that every seller had turned toward the newcomer and his elf. Their eyes burned with the same predatory glint as Mr. Park's own. So this is the market? It's pretty crowded, Suho remarked. He and Sirka strolled through the marketplace at a leisurely pace, taking in the sights. On the surface, it was no different from before they entered, but beneath the bustle, a silent tension was growing among the vendors. The reason was simple: anyone who didn't know the market prices was an easy mark. Newcomers to the city weren't aware of the prices, and to the merchants, such people were easy prey, nothing more and nothing less. This rookie, in particular, was perfectly fresh. He didn't even have debt. With the right persuasion, one could empty his wallet and then some. What was more, he had an elf with him. First come, first served, is it? I'll have to get to him before someone else bleeds him dry. If I can buy that elf for a cheap price, I'll make a fortune. Countless greedy stares were leveled at Suho and Sirka, watching their every move. Then a roughly crafted wooden sign suddenly appeared in Suho's hand. He chose a sizable empty lot and planted the sign into the ground just as the other vendors had done at their stalls. Baru Bakery. Confusion flashed across the merchants' faces as they studied the hastily scrawled wooden sign. Bakery? Mr. Park muttered, narrowing his eyes. As in, bread? Mr. Choi was equally puzzled. Is he planning to sell bread? Then what about the elf? Something felt off. Despite the sign reading bakery, Suho was empty-handed. It appeared he had nothing to sell, much less bread. One vendor murmured under his breath, "What is he thinking? It's obvious he's got nothing." You're right. Maybe he's just using the elf as an attention grabber and plans to sell something else. A spark of intrigue flickered in the eyes of the merchants. For a clueless newcomer, his tactics weren't bad. Rookies were usually fresh out of the south and were likely to have items that were rare in North Korea. It wasn't a bad idea for him to sell off those goods first and then deal with the elf later. Maybe it's something small? Could it be cigarettes? Oh, it's gotta be cigarettes. They were sure of it. 9 times out of 10, a new vendor would pull out a pack of cigarettes or a lighter. Naturally, cigarettes were a very rare commodity in apocalyptic North Korea. They were worth their weight in gold if the seller knew what they were doing, of course. So what's it gonna be? What's he selling? The people in the market focused on Baru Bakery, trying to guess from experience what he would unveil. They took care to cast only sidelong glances, never staring outright. If the newcomer caught on that he was drawing attention, he might grow arrogant and inflate his prices. I suppose this should be enough space, Suho muttered, looking around him. So what exactly are you selling? The merchant's curiosity had reached its peak. Then something happened that made everyone freeze. He took out a key, and the moment he inserted it into his shadow, a massive shipping container materialized out of thin air. What the hell, a seller blurted out, rubbing his eyes. A container? What kind of skill is that? Murmurs of surprise rippled through the crowd. The most logical explanation for such an outrageous sight was, of course, a skill, but they had never heard of anything like this. That aside, he couldn't possibly be selling the shipping container itself. The sheer absurdity of the scene erased the expectant thoughts of the onlookers. Any pretense of disinterest crumbled on the spot. Baru snickered beside Suho, noticing the murmurs around them. Young monarch, you already have their attention. You're right. And I haven't even popped the lid, Suho said with a grin. The first step to upending the city's economy had kept him busy through the night. First, he completed his daily quest in the Shadow Dungeon. Then using the key and shadow swap, he made a brief trip back to South Korea. His first destination, the nearest bakery. I'll take everything from here to there. I'm sorry? No need to pack it up. These guys here will handle it. Huh. The bakery employee, who had been preparing to close for the night, froze as a swarm of dark figures suddenly materialized. Suho had bought out the entire bakery. At this point, he could more than afford it. From clearing dungeons, leveling up, and raking in profits via the Scavenger Guild's sales of Echo Forest spring water, the Woojin Guild's bank account was seeing a steady inflow of funds. It was more than enough to strip a bakery of every last loaf and bun. A B-rank hunter could do the same if they had wanted to, but none had ever needed to. Suho, however, now had a reason. The moment he threw open the shipping container doors, a fruit slipped from Mr. Park's fingers and rolled across the ground unnoticed. Holy sh*T. His mouth hung agape, his thoughts scattering in pure shock. He wasn't alone. Every pair of eyes in the market bulged at the sheer spectacle before them. What the hell is all that? Shocked voices erupted from every direction. It didn't make sense. Inside the container, neatly arranged on display racks, sat a mountain of fresh bread. As the doors swung open, the rich, mouth-watering aroma of baked goods flooded the air. It was a sight that filled the watchers with shock, awe, and true emotion. Baru grinned, standing at the center of it all, his expression positively wicked. You want bread? He muttered. You can have it. We just emptied an entire bakery. The moment those words left the shadow ant's lips, the era of bread began. People lunged toward Baru Bakery madly, clutching their wallets in desperation. However, Suho had to cut the joy of his customers, or rather, suckers, short. The auction shall now begin, he announced. The what? The power balance within the coalition long controlled by vendors hawking fruit and beast meat was about to be shattered. Chapter 278. Suho's newly founded bakery threw the market into chaos. Villains clamored to participate in the auction, flinging their money forth without hesitation. I have to buy that. I just have to. When was the last time I even smelled fresh bread? An entire bakery had appeared in the middle of an apocalypse. It was an event so outrageous that every villain in the market was drooling, their eyes practically rolling back in sheer ecstasy. None of them had ever enjoyed eating magic beast meat. It wasn't just unappetizing, it was downright disgusting. There was no real flavor, only the acrid taste of something rotten that made one retch just thinking about it. Frankly, anyone would have an easier time choking down the bitter powdered contents of a pill than eating that foul meat. There was a reason that ordinary fruit had always been the most popular item in the market. Like a spoonful of sugar, its sweetness was the only thing that would wash away the awful taste of the meat. 50 coins. 60. Over here. 80. The bidding war escalated at an alarming rate. 100. 110. 150. The heat of the auction flared hotter and hotter as bidders tried to outdo each other. Meanwhile, the intoxicating aroma of freshly baked bread continued to dominate the market. The villains were utterly powerless against their hunger, but it wasn't the only thing driving them into a frenzy. Everyone here was a seasoned trader, and having done business with countless villains thus far, they were capable of very quick calculations. Right now the only move is to buy. No matter how much it costs, buy the bread. I'm gonna sell it for a markup. The logic was simple: no matter how much bread was in that container, it was a finite resource. Once it was eaten, it was gone. The market traders had instinctively realized just how precious it was. Beyond that, not everyone in the city was in this marketplace right now. In fact, there were far more people outside the market than within it. That meant the bread's prince didn't matter. Whoever bought it first could resell it later at an even more outrageous price. They could eat it themselves, but by hawking it to the people outside the market, they could make even more profit. By that point, we could charge whatever we damn well want. The vendors thought. The stage was set. All Suho had to do was sit back and watch as they screamed and competed with each other, pushing the prices higher and higher. So they thought anyone who didn't know the prices was easy prey, he mused. He had known exactly what the merchants were thinking from the start. The night before, he had questioned the captain of the guard, now his shadow soldier, and learned everything about the city he could. Thanks to that, he had entered the market fully aware of the usual prices. Who's easy prey now? But even if he hadn't known the prices, it wouldn't have mattered. Because I can set them myself. A slow, wicked grin spread across Suho's face. The saying was true: birds of a feather flocked together. At some point, Suho's smile had begun to look a lot like Baru's. Perhaps this had been the case for a long time, as the shadow ant had practically raised him. Young monarch, the plan is a massive success. We've already sold half, Baru whispered demonically beside him. Suho's smirk grew even wider. What do you mean, already? You mean we've only sold half? The massive amount of bread had finally caused the bidding war to slow down. With so many merchants in one place, the prices were naturally settling into a reasonable range. But Suho had planned for this too. He had set aside the largest and most delicious items for this very moment. From this point on, all prices begin at 1,000 coins, he declared. The villains reacted in various ways. Those who had already bought bread sighed in relief, while those who had held back, watching warily to save money, froze in horror. This isn't fair. That's right. You're taking things too far. 1,000 coins for a piece of bread? Those who hadn't managed to buy anything yet protested loudly, mana bubbling instinctively in their fists. Still, they didn't dare attack. It was against market regulations to use force here. While it was a different story outside the market, inside, the rules of the coalition were absolute. If someone broke a rule, nothing would stop the strongest among them from killing everyone else and hoarding all the goods. If that happened, the city itself would eventually collapse. Even the last man left standing would be unable to survive alone in the apocalypse. That was why the free market coalition existed in the first place. Ugh. Damn brat. Where did you even learn to scam people like this? You dare toy with food? Despite the protests, Suho simply shrugged, unconcerned. If you don't want to buy, then don't. Nobody is forcing you. His tone was polite, but only barely, which made things even worse. He wasn't done, however. He seemed determined to press his advantage to the fullest and abandoned all sense of courtesy. He glanced at the two men who had been the loudest in their complaints and reconsidered his stance. You two have changed my mind. All prices now start at 1,100 coins. The villain stared, stunned. Actually, no. Since there are two of you, it'll be 1,200 coins instead. This isn't fair. It's pure extortion. The men shook with fury, but there was nothing to be done. Suho wasn't forcing them to buy. They could walk away if they wanted. They gritted their teeth, forced to suppress the mana that threatened to burst forth. The other bidders turned their murderous gazes on the two who had complained. Under the sheer weight of the death glares, the men immediately shrank away, disappearing into the crowd. They would have to lie low for a while. After all, while violence was illegal inside the market but outside, nothing was stopping anyone. We'll see about this. No matter how much money you make here, once we get outside. The entire market gritted their teeth at Suho's tyranny. Still, there was nothing to be done, and the auction resumed. 1,200 coins. 1,300. The prices soared to insane levels, but nobody cared. Outside the market, they could sell anything they bought for even more. Suddenly, a sharp metallic sound rang in the air. Shing! The noisy market fell silent. Suho was puzzled by the sudden change. What was that? Everyone in the now quiet market turned their eyes in the same direction. Baru narrowed his eyes. Keek? A girl stood at the market entrance. She looked to be in her late teens, likely not yet out of high school. A massive scythe rested casually on her shoulder. It seemed the sound they had heard was its blade scraping against the ground. It's Haziel the Harvester. What is that crazy B*TCH doing here? Instantly, the market's atmosphere turned to ice. The faces of the people who had been brimming with enthusiasm just a moment ago were now filled with fear. Suho, on the other hand, had a glint in his eye. Haziel the Harvester. According to Yongjin, she was one of the main people to watch. We call those who professionally harvest Alzheimer's fruits harvesters. And the most famous among them is. He had mentioned a girl named Haziel. Her infamy ran so deep that even Suho, who had only just arrived in the city, had heard of her. Naturally, everyone in this place knew her name. More than a few villains had lost their heads to her huge scythe after trying to get overly friendly, drawn to her young age and beauty. Since every person in this city was a villain, there was no point in trying to tally how many she had killed. Her cruelty aside, Suho could see right away how she had managed to distinguish herself among the harvesters. She's S rank. He recognized her level right away. Now it made perfect sense why her mere presence had thrown the market into such tense silence. Haziel seemed used to it. She strode forward at a steady, unhurried pace, and the villain scrambled out of her way without a word. Finally, she stopped directly in front of Suho. Their eyes met. Sirka, standing beside Suho, muttered sharply in the elven language that only he could understand. Is she an executor, by any chance? She asked. An S rank was more than qualified to be one. No one knew who the executors were, But that meant that they could be anybody and mingle with the populace without anyone knowing. "That one," Haziel said to Suho. "Huh?" He turned around. She was pointing at something. "The strawberry cake." "How much?" she asked. Suho took a moment to stare at her. It was impossible to say for sure if she was an executor, but it was clear she wasn't a girl of many words. In the dead air of the market, Haziel quietly pointed to the strawberry cream cake that was on display, the scythe that had taken many a villain's life resting on her shoulder. What stood out the most was her expression, or rather, her complete lack of one. Even as she stared at the cake, her gaze remained eerily blank like an emotionless doll's. Suho studied her closely, then after some thought, made a decision. "Hey, you. That's right. You're the one who took this tone with me first," he said, speaking brusquely. "He's insane." Whispers erupted all around at Baru's shocking behavior. "He must be completely out of his mind. Does he have no fear? He might be new, but does he have zero survival instincts? Can't he see how tense we all are? That should have told him something. You can't speak to Haziel like that." Not even the infamous Haziel would harm someone inside the market, but the newcomer might eventually encounter her outside of it. Harvesters were known for their incredible speed. It was impossible to climb Alfheim, dodge the attacks of the spirits, and harvest the tree's fruits without being inhumanly fast. If he ever met her outside the city, he would likely have a hard time running away. This clueless rookie, however, simply grinned. He spoke again, his voice confident. "If you want to buy the cake, you'll have to bid for it like everyone else. And if I don't want to bid? Then you can barter." For the first time, a slight crease formed between Haziel's brows. Suho felt a small wave of pride at the achievement. Meanwhile, the rest of the market had whiplash from this absurd conversation, their expressions changing every second. Wait, what? Bartering was an option? He just made that rule up, didn't he? Asshole. But in the end, this was a free market. The seller was allowed to do what he wanted, and he could put things on auction or barter if he pleased. His wares-baked goods were so terribly rare that it destroyed the usual logic of the market, but nothing that he was doing right now was against the rules. Haziel knew this too. She glanced at the cake again, then looked Suho straight in the eye. "What do you want?" she asked. "Alfheimer's fruit." Another shocked murmur passed through the crowd. At this point, they had lost track of how many times they had been surprised today. Bread was rare, true, but it was unthinkable to trade it for the fruit of Alfheimer. This madman was trying to scam Haziel the harvester. He was clearly unhinged. "One fruit for one cake," Suho said. "Oh, and the cakes with strawberries on top are special. Those are worth 2 fruits." The onlookers decided he must have as many lives as a cat, either that or he was somehow capable of resurrection. Chapter 279. This guy was a lunatic, a full-blown, certified maniac. He apparently had no idea how much the fruits were worth. The market was still reeling in shock, but for Suho, it was the moment he had been waiting for. "This is convenient. I've made quite a bit of money, and I was just about to move to the next phase anyway." In fact, he was grateful that Haziel had shown up out of the blue. His plan to collect as much of the currency circulating through the market as he could had been a roaring success. Opening an auction had elicited reactions that were more eager than he had anticipated, and he still had a ton of baked goods left. It's time to start hoarding other resources. What better customer to start with than Haziel, the city's most infamous harvester? She had plenty of fruits, and for her, it was easier to part with them than to mix in with the crowd and try to outbid others. Without a word, Haziel pulled a few fruits from her pockets and held them out to Suho. She offered him no less than 6. Suho grinned, taking the fruits immediately. Well. Thank you for your business, dear customer. You can take your pick over there. You gave me 6 fruits, so that's enough for 3 strawberry cakes." Without hesitation, Haziel walked over to the display. There was a minor caveat: while Suho had mentioned cakes, these were actually slices, not full cakes. Unfortunately, he had only been able to take what was left over at the bakery at the end of the day. Haziel, however, did not complain. She carefully picked out the slices with the freshest and most delicious-looking strawberries. Everyone in the market was aghast. This was borderline robbery. It was extortion. Nobody could comprehend how Haziel could have accepted the demand without question. The fruits of Alfheim were the city's most precious commodity. Even if harvesters had many of them, they were not worth a few baked goods. But Haziel didn't seem to care what the others thought. She cautiously chose the 3 strawberry cake slices that she liked best and put them gingerly into the plastic bag that Suho gave her. Then she left as silently as she had come. After a pause, a wave of relief swept over the market. It was as though a storm had just passed through. It went to show just how many people had lost their heads to Haziel's scythe. The moment she was gone, the buyers rushed back into the fray, scrambling to get their hands on what bread was left. However, Haziel's visit, brief and uneventful as it may have seemed, had changed things. Suho turned back to the crowd and, with a wicked grin, dropped his next bombshell. New rules. If any of you are out of money, you can pay with Alfheim fruit instead. God damn it. Who would actually do that? And there is no telling when I might raise the prices further, of course, he said decisively. The realization hit the buyers like a truck. As long as Baru Bakery had stock left and that stock continued to dwindle, the competition would only intensify. This was a textbook example of market scarcity. But now it wasn't just about money. The entire currency system had changed, and Haziel had changed it. In the end, Suho was not only emptying the wallets of the market's traders but also making them voluntarily choke up their expensive fruit. I give all the credit to Haziel, Suho thought. He turned to Baru. Baru. Yes, young monarch? Still looking in the direction Haziel had gone, Suho asked. She was S-rank, wasn't she? You saw correctly. But more importantly, it was the giant scythe on her shoulder, not her rank, that had caught Baru's eye. I sensed the energy of the outer gods from that scythe, he said. Sirka nodded in agreement beside Suho. I felt it too. The weapon was made from stones of the outer gods, just like the ones in the high elf's eye sockets. Could she be an executor? He wondered. He needed to look into this. Baru, follow her. Find out who she really is. Of course. The shadow ant vanished instantly. While I'm at it. Suho issued another command to his shadow soldiers. From his shadow, they slipped forth undetected and wove into the shadows of every villain in the market. With the villains, Suho's shadow domain began to secretly grow, spreading through the city of paradise under the expansive shade of Alfheimer. A short while later, the leadership of the Free Market Coalition gathered for a meeting. The man who had summoned them was none other than the president of the bank. Is everyone here? He asked. He scanned the faces of the fruit merchants, whose expressions were unusually gloomy, and clicked his tongue. How pathetic. These vendors, who had once carried themselves with pride and confidence, had been brought to their knees overnight. Baru Bakery, the president stated. The entire table flinched. Seeing their reactions, he sighed. Do you realize that this makes no sense? How can a single bakery disrupt the entire city's economy? Even if bakeries were rare in these parts, an entire city's economy should not be falling apart over something like this. Yet that was exactly what was happening. There was a second shipping container, as it turns out, someone mumbled. Indeed, the newcomer had had 2 bakeries worth of goods, not just one. The traders had spent a fortune scrambling to buy the rookie out, only for him to drop another container right away. People lost their minds. I have no idea what sort of skill that is. They wondered if they should call him a container summoner or something of the sort. The real issue at hand, however, had nothing to do with what to call him or the nature of his skills. The real problem is that the rookie raked in an obscene amount of money in a single day. And then he just disappeared without spending any of it. Indeed, this was the problem. It wasn't wrong to make large sums of money in the market, that was what the market was for. But hoarding money and keeping it out of circulation was a disaster waiting to happen. The city's economy didn't run on wealth, it ran on debt. Even if the debtors wanted to pay up, their interest would just continue to build if money wasn't flowing. And if that interest was left unpaid, their debts would explode, and their heads would follow. No one wanted that outcome, not even the bank. If the debtors defaulted all at once, the bank would collapse with them. At this rate, the circulation of currency in the city will be severely restricted within days. Trade will take a major hit, said the bank president. As you all know, the amount of currency in our city is extremely limited. If a single person hoards this much of it, there won't be enough left for others to conduct business, which will inevitably lead to market stagnation. As he spoke, the gathered individuals nodded in agreement. This was a small, closed economy, which made it especially fragile to disruptions. With fewer transactions, the prices of everything else will be affected as well. Mr. Park, the fruit trader, let out a heavy sigh, clearly growing impatient with the lecture. Sir, with all due respect, isn't it a little early to be worrying that far ahead? Won't that newcomer end up spending his money sooner or later anyway? The president's sharp gaze snapped to him. And when do you expect that to happen? How do you suppose a single person is going to spend that much money? No, more importantly, does he even need anything? He already netted a pile of fruits before he vanished. What more could he possibly need from us here? Mr. Park was silent. It was true, and everyone knew it. The needs of people in the city were simple: food, clothing, and shelter. In this city, clothing referred to armor. It wasn't a luxury but a necessity for survival. Given the unique circumstances of North Korea, however, there was no way to obtain more armor. Whatever one wore upon arrival in North Korea had to be repaired and maintained by the wearer themselves. Then there was food, which was usually magic beast meat, ordinary fruit, or the coveted fruit of the Alzheimer. That was the real source of the crisis following the sudden appearance of the bakery. Lastly, there was shelter, or a place to spend the nights. The citizens of the city did not own homes. Every accommodation was rented, and rent was paid on a daily basis. Since someone could die any given day, all accommodations in the city demanded rent this way. What if we spread the word that everyone should charge that guy an exorbitant rate for lodging? Mr. Choi suggested, coming up with an uncharacteristically good idea. This brought the conversation to the next biggest problem at hand, however. The bank president swept his gaze across the gathered leaders before speaking in an icy tone. A fine suggestion. Does anyone know where he is right now? Where is he staying, pray tell? Everyone fell silent. We lost sight of him the moment he sold his bread and left the marketplace, did we not? He continued. That was true. Suho had once again disappeared without a trace like a ghost, just as he had the previous night. Do you think this has something to do with his container summoning? Maybe he's hiding somewhere, sleeping in one of the bread containers. At the merchant's hesitant murmuring, the president clicked his tongue in irritation. Then we must find that container. Think about it. If any of you encounter him outside the market, it would be the opportunity of a lifetime. The Huntsman Guild is already scouring the city from top to bottom. We've also put out a request to some of the more skilled individuals, someone said. The bank president's words had cut to the heart of the matter. Like it or not, the newcomer was essentially a walking treasure chest. That container of his, now emptied of bread, was undoubtedly brimming with glistening coins instead. And because the use of force was allowed anywhere outside the market, whoever found and killed him first would become the sole owner of that vast fortune. Of course, that would not be the end of it, as everyone knew. If someone succeeded in killing him, they would be murdered by someone else in turn. The money would switch hands, and there would be an infinite cycle of killing in the city. This was a city of villains, after all. Eventually, the money would enter the hands of the strongest villain or group, and only then would matters be concluded. Any of those outcomes spelled catastrophe for the city. It would be an outright disaster. It no longer matters who kills the rookie, the bank president said. The balance of the city has already begun to crumble. It was a wretched situation. The most absurd thing was that all of it had begun because of a single person on a single day. The president, burdened with the responsibility of maintaining balance in the city, exhaled slowly. So the best way to handle this is to make the money flow back into the market. We have to make him use that money in whatever way we can, be it through the bank or some other means. That was the only realistic solution he could envision. None of us here have proper economic knowledge or experience running a bank. We simply created this system to ensure our survival. This economy we've built is a fragile, precarious construct that could collapse at any moment, he continued. That was the truth. None of them had seen this coming, but deep down, they had always known. No matter how much they claimed to control the market's economy from the shadows, if something like this ever actually happened, it would immediately expose how little control they truly had. They could boast, but at the end of the day, they were nothing more than a bunch of murderers who ran from the association and were driven all the way to North Korea. It was easier to talk about killing someone than about difficult matters like market logic and balance. Mr. Choi lost his patience again and spoke up. So what do you propose we do, then? Are you saying we should just find the guy and force him to spend his money? Even if it means taking some extreme measures? Extreme measures, you say? Now that's an interesting idea. It was as if the bank president had been waiting for those exact words. His snake-like eyes gleamed sharply, and with an infuriatingly smug expression, he gazed across the room and shrugged. Now, personally, I would never have imagined such a thing. But just this once. Are you all saying we should go through with it? The sheer brazenness of his words made the others grind their teeth in frustration. That snake. So he was waiting for us to bring it up first. The bank and the free market coalition had always upheld certain boundaries rules that ensured the city remained functional, however precariously. However, by framing this as a special exception, the president was, in effect, stripping the coalition of any say in the matter and using the so-called crisis as an excuse to do whatever he pleased. He laced his fingers and smiled in satisfaction, seeing that the conversation was going exactly the direction he wanted. Good. Then as you have suggested. Suddenly, the doors burst open, and a debtor rushed into the room. Sir. We have a problem. The president, his annoyance palpable, turned to face him with a deepening scowl. What now? It's Bibaru. The newcomer. What? Have you found him? At those words, everyone in the room shot up from their seats. However, the debtor's response was even more baffling. Well. I suppose you could say that. He showed up of his own accord. What? Where? The bank. He apparently came to buy fruit. What? Fruit? The bank president's expression froze. Don't tell me. The debtor, growing visibly uneasy under the weight of the president's glare, stammered, Why yes. He's asking how many fruits he can buy with all his money. Ah. So that's how it is. He's insane. In that instant, the president became certain. This Baruhi was a true lunatic. As someone stop him, he barked. Someone get down there and stop him right now. The bakery villain was about to gut the bank's entire fruit reserve. Chapter 280. The president of the bank sprinted through the city at breakneck speed, his breath coming in ragged gasps as the world blurred past him. His destination was clear his bank, where Suho had reportedly appeared. His legs, unnaturally taut with strength beyond that of any ordinary human, propelled him forward in massive leaps, each step leaving craters in the ground. Every resident of this city was awakened, and the president was no exception. He was a B-rank villain. He hadn't pushed himself to run like this since a certain moment long in the past. The moment he'd heard Suho had appeared at the bank, however, his hair stood on end just as it had then. I have to stop him at all costs. Panic clawed at his chest. He could only hope that his employees were handling the situation with composure and caution, but he was filled with worry. There had never been any training or protocol for this kind of situation, so leaving it entirely to his employees' discretion felt like tempting fate. Should we just attack him together and kill him, rules be damned? Murderous intent surged within him, and a crimson energy pulsed along the veins protruding from his skin and spread across his body. In the end, he was a villain just like everyone else in this city. It would be far easier to kill Baru than to waste time agonizing over strategy. "Ah, I've arrived." The bank president slammed open the doors and barged inside. "Yes, sir." One of the employees stared at him wide-eyed, clearly unsettled by the president's frantic appearance. The employee's face was as pale as a sheet. "What happened? What the hell happened here?" His breathing ragged, the president quickly scanned the bank. The air felt thick with chaos, as though a storm had ripped through the place and left devastation in its wake. Then he saw it. Money! His eyes bulged. Towering piles of glittering coins were stacked in front of the employees, the sheer amount dominating the room. The very currency that he had just been discussing with the coalition had returned to the bank of its own accord. But the sight did not bring him relief. Ignoring the fortune, he stormed past the money and bolted toward the fruit storage, the most important part of the bank. The door was wide open. He gritted his teeth. "You, King idiots." The moment he saw the emptied vault, he looked back at the employees. His arm shot forward, elongating unnaturally as it wrapped around an employee's neck, that of the bank's vice president, the man standing closest to the money. The vice president gagged and kicked desperately as he was hoisted into the air. The president's arm seemed to have no trouble lifting him. Instead of flesh and bone, a mass of writhing plant fibers extended from his shoulder, coiling and shifting like tentacles, undulating like the branches of Alfheim itself. "Tell me." The bank president's voice was cold as death as he swept his gaze across the cowering employees. "Tell me exactly what happened here, and do it quickly." Madness flowed from his bloodshot eyes. Not long before, Suho had stepped through the bank's doors. As he did, the employees, as well as the citizens who were here over a job or their debt, stiffened in shock. Is that what I think it is?" Suho had a massive pack slung over his shoulder. As he made his way toward the counter, the odd crowd instinctively parted, clearing a path. Thanks to the incident at the market that morning, there was no one in the city who didn't recognize him. Even those who hadn't personally been at the scene to see his face had at least heard his alias, Baru. When they saw a man walk into the bank carrying a sack of that size, it took no great intelligence to figure out that he was the infamous figure from those rumors. It was difficult for less perceptive villains to survive in a land like this one. As they watched, Suho opened the pack in front of a bank teller. The radiance of the coins glittering inside made everyone's jaw drop. Holy sh*T. I never actually thought. All that in just a single day? It was overwhelming. Under normal circumstances, seeing so much wealth would have made any villain greedy, but there was so much money that their first reaction was pure awe. "I'm here to buy some fruit," Suho said. The directness of his request made the bank teller flinch, momentarily blinded by the gleam of the coins. Seeing this, the vice president of the bank swiftly stepped out from behind the teller, pushing them aside to handle things personally. "Welcome. You must be Baru, the newcomer who arrived last night. You're looking to purchase fruit, is that correct?" "Yes." "How many Alfheimer fruits can I buy with this?" Are you sure that's what you want? There is so much money here that you'll likely find it difficult to store all the fruit." "It's fine. Do you really need to purchase so many at once? Rather than buying in bulk and dealing with storage issues, you could leave it here and withdraw fruit as needed." "I need them now." Suho's tone was firm and unyielding, and the vice president had no choice but to close his mouth. He glanced down, assessing the staggering heap of coins before him. With this amount of money, he gulped. It wasn't just the bank employees, everyone in the room, even those who weren't affiliated with the bank, could tell at a glance that this was enough to purchase every last fruit. Is he here to clean out the vault entirely? It was a stick-up. Instead of bringing weapons like knives and guns, however, Suho was trying to empty the fruit storage the lawful way, armed with nothing but money. As people watched, the vice president cleared his throat, his mind racing. *T. Of all times, why must the president be absent now? He had gone to meet with the coalition leaders, specifically to discuss how to deal with this very man. For now, I need to stall. He will be back soon, anyway. Doing his best to maintain a relaxed expression, the vice president continued, haha. My, Mr. Baru. This is quite amazing. I did hear about your success at the market today, but seeing it in person is truly the fruit. Ah, yes. Of course I shall give you the fruit. The thing is, the fruit. This was terrible. Nothing was working. No matter what the vice president said, Baru just calmly pointed to the fruit's price listing on the wall and repeated the reason he had come. Bring them all. I've got all the money you need, Suho said. The bank will need this money anyway, won't it? At those words, the vice president fell silent and closed his eyes. So he knows. Baru had not come here on a whim. He was fully aware of the city's economic crisis. Every villain visiting the bank and every member of the Huntsman Guild was watching with interest. Little by little, the look of confusion disappeared from their eyes, and greed began to creep in. That sure is a lot of money. That money could set me up for life. They gulped, their mouths watering much the way they had when they'd seen Baru Bakery at the market. Violence was prohibited in the market, and the same was true within the bank, but the moment one set foot outside the door, no law would protect them. This Baru would become a target as soon as he went out, no matter what transaction he made while inside. The villains had seen the money for themselves. His fate was sealed. We'll strike all at once. Kill him first. Then we'll split the money. The villains exchanged glances, their eyes brimming with raw, unfiltered greed. The vice president did not find it difficult to tell what they were thinking. If I refuse this money, they will take it the moment he sets foot outside the door. If that happened, it wouldn't just be a blow to the bank, it could bring down paradise itself. However, handing over every last fruit in the vault to this lunatic would lead to the same result. It was a catch-22. It can't be helped. In situations like this, I must use my own judgment. With that, the vice president finally came to a decision. Without warning, he strode over to the poster on the wall listing the prices of the fruit and ripped it down. A ripple of confusion spread through the bank. With an expression as firm as steel, he turned to Suho and announced, I sincerely apologize, but as of this moment, the price of the fruit has increased. That was sudden, Suho said, tilting his head and watching the man's face. Yes, I'm afraid so. I ask for your understanding. So how much are you asking? 10 times the market price. It was the villains, rather than Suho, who reacted with shock. Their eyes widened. What? Did you just hear what that bastard said? He must be out of his mind. They openly turned hostile toward the vice president, but he remained unfazed, his attention fixed solely on Suho. You might not be aware of this, Mr. Baru, but the bank is responsible for managing both the city's currency and its fruit supply. We have the right to adjust the prices of fruit whenever necessary for the safety and stability of the city. Rules were rules, and technically, he wasn't wrong. The price of fruit did fluctuate, controlled solely by the bank. But a tenfold increase was way beyond anything remotely reasonable. Everyone in the city needed the fruit. How about this, then? The vice president pressed on, emboldened. His plan was to make Suho pay for what he'd done at the market. The bank would teach him a lesson in unfairness. As such, we have decided that from this moment forward, you will be the only one required to purchase fruit at the new price. Oh? Suho's brow furrowed. Of course, all other citizens may continue to purchase at the standard rate. The villains grinned. Oh. Now this changes things. In an instant, all of their objections vanished. Sensing the change in public opinion, the vice president smiled triumphantly. As vice president of the bank, I will take full responsibility for this matter. My only concern is your safety, Baru. This is a city of villains. It's far too dangerous to keep such a large amount of money on yourself rather than depositing it in the bank. He smirked. His reasoning was foolproof. Now what will you do? He thought. With a knowing smile, he waited for Suho to answer. The stage was set, and now this cocky newcomer was left with only two options. Either he buys the fruit at an inflated price, or he carries his money out and dies to the starving wolves waiting for him. This was a stroke of genius. The vice president almost shivered at his own clever idea. For some odd reason, however, Suho was smiling. I see. Understood. The blatant, one-sided extortion didn't seem to bother him in the slightest. He simply nodded without a hint of irritation or discomfort. Huh? Is he trying to look tough? The vice president wondered. But he soon learned that this was not the case. Without even questioning the decision to raise the princes, Suho simply turned around. He faced the villains who were watching him intently. You all heard him, right? I pay 10 times the price, but you don't have to. Mocking laughter rippled through the crowd. Everyone in the bank had heard it. How could they not? However, no one expected what he said next. With a smirk, Suho addressed the villains watching him again. Starting now, I'll buy any fruit brought to me for twice what the bank offers. What? The vice president, who had been basking in his triumph, froze. The villains who heard this doubted their ears. What did he just? Suho drove in the final nail. Actually, scratch that. I've got plenty of money. Let's make it 5 times the price. Wait, what did he say? But the vice president had no time to process this information. Go. The moment the word left Suho's lips, every villain in the bank exploded into motion, rushing over to the counters. Fruit. I'll buy a fruit. Me first. Their minds had gone blank, all rational thought erased. If they bought fruit at the normal price, they could immediately turn around and sell it to Suho for 5 times as much. Who could possibly resist that? By the way, this offer only stands until I run out of money, Suho said, adding fuel to the fire. It was first come, first served. Give them to me now. Give me fruit. Hold on, everyone. Please calm down. It was a full-fledged riot. The villains, armed with money, grabbed the employees by their collars and shook them desperately. And it was all fair and square all so they could sell the fruit back to Suho.